Jennifer Nadel and Gillian Anderson here talking about their new book.
Mulder, hold on a second.
No, just listen to what I'm saying. All right? What if everything we've been led to believe in is a lie? What if there is no alien conspiracy?
Mulder, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about everything we've been led to believe. Our work, the X-Files, everything.
Can't we talk about this soon?
I've been brought in by the Metropolitan Police to lead a review into the investigation of the murder of Alice Munro.
No one here has the experience she has.
Welcome to Belfast. Killer is out there somewhere, and we have nothing at all.
2 professional women killed in their own homes by strangulation.
Oh, The Fall. I mean, she's a phenomenal actress, currently to be seen, of course, in cinemas as Edwina Mountbatten in Viceroy's House. I know some of you have seen that. If you have, let me know. I've not been along to see that yet, but it looks brilliant, and lots of great reports coming from that. So Gillian Anderson going to be here this morning with her partner in crime on this book, Jennifer Nadel. It's called We, and it's called A Manifesto for Women Everywhere. And it goes, the kind of strapline is 9 principles for a more meaningful life. And it's just about, it's kind of following on all that kind of mindfulness and kind of looking about and taking stock of things and just looking towards the idea of the glass being half full rather than it being half empty. So loads to talk to them about. Loads of questions from you guys as well already. And if you've got any questions for them, please do get them in. Send them to us on Twitter, which is at Virginradio UK, or indeed you could do it on email if your question is longer than 140 characters. So you can do that by sending me an email, which is breakfast@bbc.co.uk. Right, I need to announce the winner of our Virgin Classic album, which I shall do 9:10 on Friday morning. Joni Mitchell, Nina Simone. It's a good day when you get to play those 2 tracks back to back, and it's an even better day when you get to welcome Gillian Anderson, Jennifer Nadel to the show. Morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning. That cheered me right up.
Yeah? Well, yes. We were almost on tears at one point. Tears of joy.
Nina Simone brings
Who
me to
picked
tears.
what, and why did you pick it?
I picked Joni because, well, she makes me want to weep. There's just so much yearning in there, and I love the fact that she was one of the first women to really kind of pioneer and produce her own music. She was the first singer-songwriter to go, I'm owning my voice, my strength, my words.
Yeah.
And she was an activist.
Yeah. What about you, Julie?
And Nina Simone again brings me to tears. I mean, one of the most extraordinary voices of all time, and so much emotion in it, but also a civil rights activist, and really stood up in the 60s and suffered hugely from physical abuse at the hands of her husband, and also was emotionally and mentally quite disturbed by the end of her life. And I have just a huge amount of compassion and love for her.
And both those kind of subjects and all that relates to this wonderful book that you two have put together and given us. We, A Manifesto for Women Everywhere, 9 Principles for a More Meaningful Life. We'll get into the book in a second, but I want to know about how did you guys meet, and how did then that relationship develop into deciding that you would make this wonderful thing together?
Well, we met through mutual friends a little over 10 years ago, and over these 10 years, and kind of helping each other through our individual challenges, life's challenges, realised that we had some of the same history and some of the same tools for dealing with life, and so that at some point that was a starting point of a conversation, not necessarily about the book, but about the need for something like this out there, that there is such a challenge today with self-worth in women of all ages. And
I've got so many different types of book. I've got the pile of self-help books by my bed. I read one paragraph and think, oh yeah, that's the answer, and then I give it to someone else and say, look, I found the answer. And then nothing changes. Then I've got my political tomes, and I've got my spiritual section for when I'm feeling peaceful. But I really wanted, and I think that's what Gillian and I have done, is to create a book where we bring all 3 dimensions together, because you can't be happy unless you're actually doing something for someone else. Spirituality isn't about sitting on the top of a mountain, it's about rolling your sleeves up.
Yeah.
And we also Yeah, we also need to deal with our own woundedness. Otherwise, we act it out left, right, and centre.
There's a really great at the start of the book. There's a really great little paragraph that is, because I was saying yesterday when I was talking about you coming in, that it's not saying that it's a self-help book is really underestimating what it can offer you. This is a book, and you say this is not a self-help book to enable you to get more out of life or a spiritual text to encourage you to float above your difficulties. Just a great sentence. Nor is it a lecture on how to try harder. It's an intensely practical guide to healing and activism from the heart. And it is that thing, it's from the inside out, isn't it? That's kind of finding this place within yourself to not only help yourself but help others.
Well, the book is based on 9 principles, and the first principle is honesty. And it becomes really important at a certain point to get really honest about who we are, who we really are on the inside, and what it is that we want out of our life, and what is and what's not working. And until we can get honest about that, it's very difficult to step out and actually make true changes in the direction that we want to be heading.
And sometimes being honest can be the hardest part, isn't it? You know, it's admitting your faults and where you failed. And my mum, I remember the best advice my mum gave me when I became a parent for the first time was like, being a parent is trial and error. You know, you have to kind of almost fail to then work out what's the right thing to do.
And there's so much pressure on us as women to be perfect, to somehow juggle, and the feeling that if we admit we're struggling, we're going to let the side down, or we're not going to be admitted to the male world somehow. But actually, we've all got to come out and say, this is how it is. We're messy, we're imperfect. In fact, one of the things we say in the book is that we'd like the word perfect to be banned. It's the P word, we call it. We do not want that P word mentioned, you know, and we're bombarded with images the whole time of women looking perfect. And then we find ourselves trying to airbrush ourselves into those images that have been created by men for men, and then we oblige.
The filter on Instagram,
and it ultimately shows us that we're not enough. It teaches us constantly that we are not enough as we are, and we need to start emulating something else. So a lot of what this book is about getting back to our own sense of worth, self-care and self-esteem.
And being kind to each other, especially as women. I think sometimes, you know, one of our faults as women is sometimes we can be really unkind to each other. And I think it's so important to kind of get over that jealousy, get over those insecurities, and just be kind to each other. It feels so much better, and it's such better positive energy.
It does, but we talk in the book about the toxic C's. You know, there's so many ways that we relate. We compete, we compare, we criticise, and we're conditioned to do that. You know, look at a magazine cover, get the look like her. This is what she's got. You want it. Only one of us can have it. And this war starts. And we talk about trying to replace that with cooperation, compassion and connection, because when women join together, we are unstoppable.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Gillian, you must kind of, you know what that feels firsthand in terms of being that person that people will put on the front cover of a magazine, and trying to kind of to get that message out that it's, you know, that's kind of almost like a different world, isn't it, in a way?
It is a different world, and it's not a real world. You know, it's not a real world. In this book, both of us have gotten very, very honest about the areas that we struggle with, and I've experienced huge amounts of anxiety and struggle being a parent, and these very, very human things that I hear from my girlfriends are also, and men too, the struggles that we all have to compartmentalize and to juggle the different aspects of ourselves and try and figure out how we can keep it all balanced. It weighs really heavy, and so it was really important for both of us to get absolutely honest with our own experience.
We've had some phenomenal questions coming, I have to say. So thank you very much to everybody who's been submitting questions. And we're going to get to those after we hear a little bit of music from Biffy Clyro. Love on Virgin Radio. If you have just joined us, Gillian Anderson and Jennifer Nadel are here. Their book, keep saying W-E, We, A Manifesto for Women Everywhere, 9 Principles for a More Meaningful Life, is out now. It's also out in an audio version. I know what I'm doing after the show. You're going to be with me for the rest of the day as I walk around in my school run, all that kind of thing, going, yes, I can take on the world. Some wonderful questions coming in from people. So if you don't mind answering some of these, this would be great. I'm going to go straight in with a great one from Hannah Simpson, who says, as 2 successful working women and mothers, how do you overcome that mother's guilt? Any tips?
Well, I personally didn't overcome it. I was...
I don't think you ever do.
No, I was ITV's Home Affairs editor, and I was feeding my kids, 2-year-old and 6-month-old, their dinner and they were throwing it all over me as usual. And the news desk called and said, we need you to go to Downing Street, which I should have been really excited about. And I just looked at my kids and said, I can't go. And I didn't go back to work. And then I was claiming benefit for 10 years. But that's what happened. I just couldn't do it. And now, luckily, I found a way of working that means that I don't have to leave them. But I personally couldn't deal with it. So I'm the wrong person to ask. But Gillian...
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have to leave a lot. I leave a lot to work, and I try and make it be that I don't go away for a maximum of 3 weeks at a time. But there's a certain resilience that you put up, and the resilience is that it's really good that my two boys, and I have a 22-year-old girl who is old enough to properly understand, but that they see their mother working and doing what she loves to do, and that is just as important. And so I think I've found a way to adjust that feeling when they're tugging on my legs and you know, but they have a really, really active dad who's fantastic in their lives, and they adore him, and he's very and so we have a good working system.
Good team.
It's taken a while to get there, but we're in a really good team.
I had my mum on the show yesterday, on Wednesday, when we were talking about International Women's Day, because she's my inspiration. She was one of 7. She was a working mum. Her mum was a working mum whilst bringing up 7 daughters. And so that kind of generational thing has been kind of passed on, you know, kind of, if you want to do it, you can do it. You can achieve it. So, yeah, morning, mum, if you're listening. This is a good one from Roberto. She said, what would your advice of the youth of today, for the youth of today? Sorry.
Love yourself and be yourself, and don't think the answer lies on the outside. You know, we're educated to think that we just need to be successful, look a certain way, have certain things, and that will fix us. And it's just not true. It's a lie.
And both of us have found that actually the things that bring us the most meaning have nothing to do with what's on the outside. It's all about how we're feeling on the inside and whether we're happy with who we are.
This is a great one from Steffi. Do you think that having written this book yourselves has helped you even more overcome your daily struggles?
Definitely.
Great nodding from Jennifer there.
Yes, we do. It's really pointed to the glaring things that we still are challenged with. But actually, you know, that is part of life.
Yeah.
Part of this is about the fact that we are not perfect. We don't aspire to be perfect, that we are works in progress, and that is okay. We're trying as best as we can, and that is okay.
Yeah. This is Aniko wants to know what's the significance of the cover.
That's you. Yes. That's Gillian's vision, the cover.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. I mean, I had done a little sketch on a pad in a hotel room at one point of what the cover could be. And then I'd had this tattoo done on my hand a long time ago, which is a circle. And it was one of our meetings with HarperCollins where they said, actually, we're thinking about using your circle, you know, from your hand. And I think my first reaction was I knew that I wanted something simple that people could carry with them, that maybe it would be a symbol that you could tell from afar that there was a woman over there who was a part of this journey, and that by that them having a circle on them or something that would mean that they were immediately, you know, friends, that they could just go up to each other and have a conversation, and obviously a circle is probably one of the easiest things, but so that's really where it began. But the fact that they are linked, because so much of what this book is about community.
It is, and the other reason why we wanted a circle was that we want women to gather together, and it's already happening. It's amazing. The book's been out for 2 days, and we've already heard of groups of women gathering together to read the book through together, because we all need to be joining up and going, you know what, this is the stuff that matters. Forget all that getting. It's about being and connecting. So that's the other.
That's lovely.
And also we're so used to friendships these days on our phones that don't actually really represent true friendship. When you're, I mean, yes, they are friendships. When you're face to face with another human being, looking into another person's eyes, that's a very different experience than flicking, you know, through on the phone. And you know, so we encourage face to face meetings.
Yeah.
Gatherings.
I went to a coffee morning last weekend for old ladies in Scotland, and it was absolutely brilliant. There was a charity coffee morning, and all these old dears, just an excuse for them to come together, to sit and chat, maybe not see people that often, you know, that kind of terrible thing that happens to old people where they kind of, you know, you lose communication with people. It was wonderful seeing all these people just kind of, you know,
coming to life.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sparks ignited.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Well, there's something ageless about. I mean, these ideas have been around for centuries. You know, this is about honesty and humility and kindness and courage, and there's you know, it's for teenagers and it's for pensioners. You know, the idea that somebody who's read this book can gather with a woman who's in her 80s in a remote part of, say, Scotland. I mean, how delightful would that be? Because it's the same conversation about self-acceptance and honesty.
And men as well.
Yes,
I know that
absolutely.
you say it's a manifesto for women everywhere. It's totally
I'm so
non-exclusive.
glad you said that, because the men who've read it have just absolutely loved it. And the truth is that the world we're living in doesn't work for men any more than it doesn't work for women. You know, it's based around this idea of a male workforce that doesn't have children, that doesn't have caring responsibilities. And most of the men I know do want to spend time with their kids. So it's not that we need to lean into this system, it's that we actually need to change it so that it works and reflects who we all really are. So yeah, works for blokes just as much as it does for women.
Amazing. We've run out of time. You guys have got to head off. You're off to the States as well to talk about it, which is so exciting. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Please come back anytime. We can play more Joni and Nina and chat more. It's brilliant to have you.
There's an iTunes playlist out today of songs to read the book by that has
great.
come out. So just fixing the
with some of our favourite women artists on it.
Yes, it's all women and
fab. I'll go and check that out.
Do.
The book's out now. It's called We, a Manifesto for Women Everywhere. And as I said, the audio version is available now. It's my weekend absolutely sorted. Gillian and Jennifer, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.